So today we're lucky to welcome two alumnus students, Benjamin Franco, who did his master in luxury management with us. And we do have Christian Esnaux, who did his bachelor in IUM and also the master in luxury management, if I'm not mistaken. Both of them are working in the luxury real estate. We're lucky that we have two sides. One, Benjamin, who's in New York, and Christian, who's in Dubai. So we'll have two inputs from two sides of the world.
Yeah.
So if you guys can a bit explain what you're doing, how did you come up with this position right now, how everything works, that would be amazing.
Benjamin, please.
Want to go first? All right, sure. So thank you, everyone, for having us. So I went to Monaco in 2015 and did my master's, and finally, after two internships and finishing my studies, left in 2018 to move back to New York. And originally, I wanted to get into yacht sales in Monaco, but as that's not something that's possible in New York, I was trying to figure out, what other route to go in where I could still be in luxury sales. And after doing some short time at Ferrari, I was able to manage my contacts and start in luxury real estate. So I've been, for the past few years, working in luxury sales for a real estate company on a very small team that only focuses mainly on sales above $1 million. And it's been great ever since. So looking forward to comparing it to Dubai.
Yeah, I work as a broker at a company called Allsopp Allsopp. It's one of the many brokerage firms here in Dubai. Randomly, I was supposed to go to New York, and then COVID hit, and then I just applied for that, and after a couple of interviews, got the job. And I've been here nearly 3 years now, so time flies. Yeah,
Lovely. Lovely. Thank you very much. And just a question for people who want to work in the real estate. What would you say, which background is required to work in real estate, as you both change a bit your path in between? So what would you say it's the most relevant background in order to work in this luxury real estate?
Well, I would say be an extrovert. You need to speak with people. You need to know what you're doing, but just have a decent sales background. Even though I didn't have any experience coming into it, you just need to, like to speak to people. I used to do an analytic job before. I used to be executive recruiter. Then I hated that, and then coming into this, completely different. So I think just being extrovert, just like speaking to people is very useful.
I think, absolutely, I agree with what Christian said. And I think that, obviously it's great if you're very knowledgeable about the real estate market and, you can memorize all the statistics and price per square meter and, memorize every building, in your city or in your region that you focus in. But at least in New York, there are thousands of real estate brokers, and people will choose not just to work with who has the most, knowledge on paper, but they're not going to buy from you if they don't like you as a person. So I think that, having skills where you're selling to people, especially previously in some sort of luxury capacity, whether it's cars or yachts or clothes, it doesn't matter what it is, but gaining the knowledge of how to talk to people, how to make people feel special, and how to make them feel taken care of is how you get people to use you and refer you and build your clientele base. It's, of course, you have to know a bit about real estate or your industry of choice, but it's more about how you interact with people, because you can always learn statistics, but you can't learn as easily how to make people feel comfortable spending money with you and how to make people like you enough to trust you with that much money.
Okay, so what we understand is that networking is basically the key.
Yes.
Oh yeah, 100%, literally.
And as networking master, can you maybe explain for those who don't really know, like the daily work routine, like a typical day in your life? What is it exactly?
All right.
Maybe.
So I mean, I'm sure Christian will agree, but every day is different because when you work in real estate, you do not have like a normal 9 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. type job. You could be on a Tuesday in the middle of the day with nothing to do, but on a Saturday morning, you're running crazy, going to showings and making contracts and dealing with multiple clients. So you never have 2 days that are the same. But generally, you're either starting your day going through your network and trying to see what apartments or what homes to show which people, and try to keep all of your sort of hot prospects engaged. And then, of course, you're checking on contract statuses and you're checking on different statuses of potential deals that are going to go through. And then you're meeting with your team, if you're on a team, to also make sure that everyone's on the same page with all of your main clients, and just seeing how you can progress everyone to whatever is the next stage.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Here is pretty much the same. I mean, I generally go to work at around 8:30 in the morning. I'll go through, my network, my prospects. That could be, listings, but it'll also be buyers and sellers. Just talk to them, keep them hot, because if not, they'll go with other people. Send them all new listings. So in Dubai, I don't do specifically all of Dubai because there's thousands and thousands of towers and villa communities, commercial units, residential units, hotels, etc. So I specialize more towards Palm Marina, for whoever's been there. And we're a team of about 16 people. So every morning we try and get in a group whoever has new listings, and then therefore you look at what that works with your buyer. So you'd send that with your new buyers or your existing buyers. Generally try and view in the afternoon, go out on viewing. So you always take people, and I suppose you'll agree with this, on multiple units, not only one, because they'll be thinking you're wasting their time. And then, every day's different. I mean, for example, tonight at 7 p.m. I've got a meeting with a buyer. So it'll be at 7 p.m. It's never in the right time as well. And then on the weekends, generally people are working during the week, so they'll be wanting to view properties on the weekend. So generally every Saturday or Sunday, you've got 4 hours of each day where you're trying to view properties. And then, contract statuses, and that could be for listing contracts or sales contracts. It's very straightforward. It just never happens at the right time. So you're 24/7 on your phone.
Absolutely. And it's almost too like the times that you're not busy, because you're working on commission, you're always thinking about, okay, well, if I don't have a specific client to take out, or I don't have a contract status to check on, or a listing to check on, you always have to make sure that you are gaining more knowledge about what's going on in the market. So you always, even if you're not like on the clock, you have to use your free time to make yourself more knowledgeable. So reading about what's going on in the real estate press, you're making sure that you visit, any new listings that come up. Even if you don't have a buyer, you're just making sure that you see new listings, or you see what the prices are going to be, or what else is going on in the market with other brokers. So that way, when someone comes to you, you have as much knowledge as possible. So again, as we were saying, it's not about, I only work, certain times in the office and this is my job. You're 24/7 always working in some capacity.
Yeah, I'd also add to that networking events, so the fact that we're commission based, so we don't have a salary, which means you don't sell, you don't get paid. And getting buyers is great, but they don't always come to you. So they only come to you when you have listings that are put on the online portals. So whenever, I don't know, you're looking for an apartment to rent in Monaco or Bordeaux or whatever, you're going to contact that agent. That's how they get the lead. So same thing for us. So we'll put properties on the market, but that's not enough buyers for us to convert those leads into sales. So, I mean, this is how it works here, but there's a lot of networking events. There's a lot of places where you go. I think in New York you have that, the Arts Club.
Sorry, the what?
The Arts Club.
I'm not sure.
It's basically a business club where all networking happens, and so you
There's
go
a
there.
lot of those, yeah.
So you mainly go to those, and you speak to people, and you meet people, and then they're always either, oh, I'm looking to sell my property, I'm looking to buy my property, and that's how you also get more and more buyers. So you're out. You could be in the office at 8 a.m. I mean, it's 3:15 here, and I'm at home because I'm working. I've only got admin to do. I don't have much today going on. But then at 7 p.m., for example, I've got to get back dressed and go back to a meeting and try and close a buyer. So yeah, that's pretty much a day's work.
All right. Thank you very much. And now, if you would have to tell what you love the most about your job, so obviously networking is a big stake, but it doesn't mean that you really like it. What is like the best part of your job? What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, for me at least, especially, being in the luxury market of New York, I get to see things that most people don't get a chance to see. So for example, last summer, my team represented the buyers of an apartment that was $70 million. And it was one of the most expensive sales in New York for the whole year. I think it was number 2 or 3 for the year. And, I'm walking around this $70 million apartment, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, even though I have no budget, anything like that for myself, just to be able to experience what that feels like, even though you're only in it for a few hours, is more than most people will ever get in their lifetime. So that for me is the most special part of the job.
Yeah, I mean, definitely something. I like the commission, of course. I like to get paid.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that was not even.
I'll be honest, but no, I also like having a glimpse of everybody's life from an exterior point of view. Because when you're viewing or when you're having a meeting with people, you get to know. You hear about their family and their situation and where they're from, and it's funny because you always get an exterior point of view. It's just something a bit different from a job where you'd be sitting at a desk 9 to 5. But yeah, mainly when you close a deal and contracts are signed and everything's done, that's probably the most satisfying part of the job.
And I don't know, Christian, about you, but I kind of like the thrill and excitement of the chase. I think, like, obviously you want to make the commission, but I kind of like the excitement of the build up of, are they going to buy? Are they not going to buy? How much am I going to make? And then when it happens and you make the commission, like, I think it's all very exciting. If I was just making the same amount of money every day and, working exactly the same hours, I think it's a little bit boring.
No, yeah, 100%. Definitely. It's a vicious circle because you're viewing, they like it, you try and get them to offer, they offer, and then the seller counter offers, and then you try and get to a matching point. And that's the great part of it, because it is a thrill. Definitely. But it's a vicious circle because the moment you get basically contract sign and the deposit, then it's just back to square one. And
with somebody else.
Exactly, somebody else. But you get from the point from basically you're loving it because you're trying to close at something, and then the moment that's done, it's literally a drop to, all right, got to continue on other viewings and got to deal with other people. And the moment you actually get a contract in and out, I mean, you just focus on that, and it's very hard to multitask when you're close to closing something, because the only thing you think about is, I mean, for example, I closed an apartment last week on the Palm, and the guy signed and the seller took about a week to sign. And during that week, it was horrific because I was just thinking, I don't understand. This guy wants to sell. He's agreed on this price. Why is he not signing? Is everything fine in the contract? And then he signs, and then I've got to go and get the checks, the deposit check, and the buyer's not actually ready. And it's all a thrill, but you go nuts in this job. Mentally, it's horrible.
You have to be a little bit crazy, or else you would never do this. Because I tell people all the time, every morning I wake up unemployed.
Yes.
So it's a little bit crazy that we enjoy it, but there's something about it. I think you have to be a certain type of person to want to do this type of job.
Definitely.
Yeah. And what is the biggest challenge that you face? Is it the fact that you wake up and you don't know how much you will earn, or how much how the day is gonna go, or like with obviously luxury high-end customer, you really have to be all the time at the best of your of yours. So what's the biggest challenge in your jobs?
I mean,
you go first.
Yeah, I think this is very dumb, but I'd say mental health, because it's so challenging having. I mean, this for example. Yeah, there's a new area in Dubai. They're opening a casino on the north side of the UAE, and I had this buyer who was going to buy an apartment in the Nobu residences, so same as the restaurants. And he was also talking Sotheby's, and you're just trying to close it with yourself, and then I mean, you don't have to be dumb to realize how much money you're going to make. And when you're talking in tens of thousands of euros, and then the guy goes, "Oh, actually, I've already closed on one. Sorry, you should have come to you. We should have talked about this earlier." It's horrible because oh well, I've lost 15 grand there on a 3-bedroom plus maids apartment in Nobu. That's an example. Or everything goes well, and then at the end they don't buy, or there's a change of plan. The challenging part is that you don't know what you're going to make until it's signed. And even though you have an offer accepted or whatever, you want to get excited, but you can't, because that could at any time, for any reason, fall through. And when you start doing this job, you get excited, and then you have a deal that falls through, and then you realize, oh well, this month, instead of making, for example, 15,000 euros, you're making nothing. And that, from a lifestyle perspective, not the best thing to have.
That's so true. I mean, the deals that I've had potentially fall through are incredible, and I'm sure you have too. And everything, you could do everything right, even though there's no specific method to making a deal happen. You could do your best to do everything right, but you can't control the buyer to a certain extent, or the seller. So I've had experiences where someone decided they don't want to buy, the buyer and seller were not able to meet on a price, and then you think it's going to happen, and then it doesn't. But then the buyers, or maybe in 2 weeks, blame you for not being able to make the deal happen, and then they buy the same apartment with another broker. So like you try to do your best always, but sometimes, if a buyer changes their mind at the last minute, or the buyer and seller have an issue together, it affects you, even though you didn't do anything wrong. So that's kind of something hard, because a lot of times in another job, if you work harder and you do all the right things, you get your salary, you get your raise. But in this career, you could do everything right, and normally things could be good for you, but you could do everything right and things could still fall apart. So that part is difficult. But I think that the most difficult part of the job is, especially for young people who want to get into it, unless you work on a team that has older people who have been in the industry for longer periods of time, you don't have a clientele. You don't have leads, you don't have clients. So the only option, unless somehow you have connections to people already, is to be able to find a team that is willing to bring you on and share their leads and connections with you.
Yeah, the start is the hardest in this job. Once you get rolling, it's okay, but the first, I'd say, 6 months to a year in this job, when you're not making, I mean, you're barely making any money, it's tough. I mean, you're just really just trying to get listings on, and then, you know, you start going out, you start meeting people, you get leads, and then you start viewing, and then you get better. Because first couple of times you're viewing a property, you don't really know what to say. You're completely lost. You walk in and you go, oh, well, this is a 4-bedroom duplex. Square footage, oh, I'm not too sure. And then service charges, I'm not too sure. Does it include the AC? I'm not too sure. And they ask you a bunch of questions, and then you're just completely lost. So that's the hard part. But once you get rolling, it is good fun, but it is a very cutthroat industry, because if you're not making money, you won't work in the industry very long. I mean, the amount of turnover of employees that come in the brokerage, our brokerage is phenomenal. You get maybe, I'd say, 80% of the people that, if you take all the people that joined our company, I'd say, yeah, 80-90% have left because you just physically cannot sustain, you know, a lifestyle without making any money.
And I don't know how it is in Dubai, but in New York, because there are so many brokers, if you're a new broker, there's no way for you to actually get leads. So there's no lead system that is going to give a new broker leads unless you're working on an already established team that has a clientele base, then will funnel you leads. So even if you are a new broker and you're willing to work hard, unless you personally have contacts, there is no way for you to get any leads that are new connections, unless you're going to try to find, like I said, a team to work on. So for me, for example, the only reason that I was able to do it is because I found a team of 2 women who have been in the industry for each more than 30 years, and they, you know, have a great list of contacts, but they don't have the time to do contracts and to run around to showings and to do sort of the legwork. So I use their contracts and sort of my energy, and between the two together, we make it work. But unless you have a situation like that, you know, no one's going to even give you leads in New York. So I don't know if Dubai, there is a way for you to get leads or not as a new broker, but it doesn't exist here.
It's tough to say. Here it works a bit differently. Here, the majority of the leads you get are from your online portals. So, for example, we have Property Finder here. So the majority of the leads you're going to get is once you get a listing and you get it online. Then people inquire, and that's where you get your buyers. But when it comes to higher end properties, the majority of the sellers want it to be an off-market listing. They want some privacy, and that's where all the networking comes in. That's where you need to play around with your contacts. You know, you speak to somebody, and then, for example, before we joined the call, I asked Ben if he had any advice for Portugal, because I've got a property for sale in Portugal, and that's how it works. It's, you'll ask somebody about, you know, something you've got, and maybe they know someone, and maybe that person knows somebody else, and that's how you play with your contacts. But when you do start getting leads, you can get leads on average units, but that's not a problem. But high-end luxury leads, it's really tough.
And before, you were talking about those clients when you almost closed the deal, but they retired like at the last moment. I don't know if you can tell us, but do you have like a ratio of, I mean, it depends, I guess, also the season and the month and everything, but if you had to give a percentage of the people who are resigning, what would it be?
Broker as well.
Yeah, true, actually, on your skills, I guess.
I think it's hard to say. You don't really have a ratio, because it just happens, and there's always a reason for it. I couldn't really say. It just happens. It comes and goes. You also get, I mean, in New York, if let's say you do a viewing on a property and then that buyer closes with another agency, the fact that you've done the viewing, do you get paid on that?
So in New York, there are contracts that you sign with buyers that confirm that you represent them. However, the buyer has the opportunity at any time to annul that contract and say, I want somebody else to represent me. So technically, there's no protection for a broker if you're working with a buyer and they decide to make a purchase with somebody else. On the opposite though is for sellers. If you have a contract with a seller, if the apartment sells, the seller has to pay you a commission during the contract agreement time frame. But with a buyer, they can like leave you at any time. How is it in Dubai?
Yeah. No, well, I mean, here you don't really have contracts with buyers. Buyers can, let's say, for example, they'll inquire with multiple agents, 10 different properties with 10 different agencies. So they can view with all the agents, all the agencies, different units. There's no contracts. With sellers, you do have a contract when you want to put it online, marketing contracts, if you may. But the example I wanted to show is I had agreed with, and it was my whole deal, my buyer and my seller on a deal, and we had agreed the price. But funny enough, the seller, the husband was in Monaco, and I was going through the power of attorney with my buyer. Buyer was very happy, and then turns out the seller didn't want to pay fees after we had agreed with it on a contract, and the seller's friend is also an agent here in Dubai and managed to get the contact of my buyer, and then they closed it between them without. So basically, I got cut off the deal for a commission that we had agreed. But that's how you can have, for example, a deal fall through, because people will basically want the most of their money literally, for example, on this deal, I had done the whole work. When I got the lead, I got the seller, so I got the buyer and the seller. I did a viewing, we agreed on a price, got the contracts out, had the deposit check, and then they actually closed on another contract with the seller directly via their friend who's an agent here. And so that's one of the reasons why you could lose as well, which really, really pisses you off.
And that's why I said, you may not have done anything wrong and the deal could still fall through. So a lot, like that's why I was saying before, this job, obviously you could make mistakes and a deal falls through, but you could do everything right and potentially a deal still could fall through even if you do your job perfectly.
Yeah.
And that makes it very hard to handle sometimes, because if you do something wrong, then you accept it was your mistake and you learn from it and you move on. But when it's not something that you did wrong and you still don't get paid, that's what's very frustrating. And it happens.
More than you'd think as well.
Yes.
And then that's what brings it to the mental health part is, once you've got one or two that happen like that and you've lost a lot of money that was supposed to go into your bank account, then you take a double take and you're thinking, well, what do I do? Why is this happening? It's not only happening to yourself, but when you don't have a salary on the side, that really hits.
Because as brokers, for sure, the moment we get even a little bit close to a contract, we're already calculating approximately what the commission is. Like I go to a showing and in the back of my head, I already know what the commission is going to be if it sells. And then that's all I can think about, as we get closer and closer. And you try not to, jinx yourself, or you try not to, but you cannot help it. And you just end up calculating everything in your head constantly.
Exactly. You always think you're going to jinx it.
Yeah.
So in mind, you're like, don't calculate it. But you know exactly. Because when it's one or two or 3% of whatever the sale price is going to be. I mean, it's not hard math. So
No.
you know it straight away. So yeah.
And you said that you're working only like fully commissioned. Is there some of your colleague, or is it your choice to be fully commissioned, or is there also some colleague of yours that has like a basic low salary and then they get commission a bit lower than yours, I guess, but does it also work like that?
Please.
So for me, actually, as I explained, I work on a team with two women who've been in the industry for more than 30 years each, and they have agreed for me to give me a small salary that they share to pay me in addition to the commissions. So I don't make as high percentage of commission as if I was a completely independent broker, because I'm getting a little bit of salary. But being young and wanting a little bit of stability, I chose to do it this way, and it worked out very well for all of us involved, thankfully. But normally you do not get any salary. The only time, at least in New York, you'd get a salary is if you're in a very unique situation like mine, where you find a team that they're willing to give you like a little stipend.
Yeah, I know in Dubai you don't get any salary. It's all commission based. You have different commission schemes with different agencies. Some of them will be more attractive, but you'll have to pay all your marketing. Some of them will be basically that they'll do everything for you. So you've got your admin, your marketing, and all of that, which is a cost, but so you get a little bit less commission. But there's nobody that's on a salary out here. And that's why the turnover is so big, because people expect to come in to Dubai and make €1 million in a year, and that's just never going to happen.
And as you're both not freshly but graduated from IUM, and you know a bit the site, how did the master in luxury management, or how IUM helped you to get there where you are right now? Please, Ben, start.
All right. So for sure, with contacts, IUM has been incredible. It's actually, so as I mentioned, I worked for Ferrari before going into real estate. And the only reason I got into Ferrari was because of IUM. We had the career days, and we had a representative from Ferrari come to IUM. I spoke with them, and I said, basically, I don't have a work visa to work in Europe. What can you offer an American? And they incredibly had something. And then that connection and working at Ferrari actually helped me meet one of the executives at Douglas Elliman, which is the company that I work with now. I sold a vehicle to that person, and we kept in touch, and they really liked me. And then from there, they actually brought me on to that company. So without IUM, I never would have had the connections to get from Monaco back to New York, and then from New York, automotive industry into luxury real estate.
I didn't get the job thanks to IUM. I inquired myself on the job, but having been in Monaco around such international people, and also the fact that Monaco is a tax-free, tax haven area, which is similar to Dubai, and that it's so international, similar to Dubai once again, it really helps with managing cultures. And also, I mean, students, there's so many different nationalities, so you do understand a lot of it. I think, yes, social parts of IUM, and also the luxury market, learning a bit more how to sell luxury helps massively over here, because you get people that join the company that have no idea what they're doing in terms of selling luxury, and that and also dealing with those the buyers and the type of people, what they're looking for, etc. I think ION's helped me on that. But yes, it's mainly the international part and the networking part that's helped me.
I could not agree with that more. Like, obviously all the students are from different countries, and you know, as an American, I think a lot of us could be very sheltered as far as not getting outside of the US. So coming to Monaco and being with students of all different nationalities, speaking different languages, that's super helpful in selling luxury, because you have to learn how to deal with people from all different backgrounds. And then now that I'm doing this job, I'm constantly doing the same thing, because I have buyers from all over the world who are looking to invest in New York, and learning how to do that on such a high price point is definitely something that IUM helps with a lot.
And do you have any advice for a soon freshly graduate who wants to go in the luxury real estate, not necessarily New York or in Dubai, but just some skills or some advice that you can you could give them in order to get successful, to be successful?
Well, I'd say don't expect to make a lot of money very quickly. You're starting at the bottom of the ladder. You don't have any contacts, you don't have any network, you don't have any properties for sale, so it's going to take time, but push through. I mean, it's such an interesting market. I don't know about you, Ben, but I wouldn't really see myself doing anything else now. I mean, the goal is...
I could never do anything else, for sure.
Yeah, the goal is to open your own agency and your own brokerage firm, get people in, get people working for you through the contacts you've built over the years. But it's a great industry. Just be extrovert, because if you're an introvert, it's, no offense, but it's going to be tough. Because if you're scared to speak to people, then it's maybe not the best industry for you.
I think my advice to anyone who would be starting out would be, first, whether or not you have any general luxury sales experience. I think that's very helpful. Obviously, you know, Christian said that he started out in real estate, which is working for him. I think if you have the opportunity to sell something else where it's not only commission based, it's great to have that background. You know, selling something else in luxury, whether it be clothes or cars or something where you get paid a little bit of a salary, but you learn how to deal with this level of clientele. That's, I think, definitely something that I would suggest. But also, I think finding, which is very difficult, but finding a mentor or finding a team where you have someone who's been in the industry for a long time and they're willing to a bit take you under their wing and sort of show you best practices and help you get started by doing the things that they maybe don't want to do anymore because they're older and they're focusing on other things. I think that's the best way to get into the industry, if you have the opportunity to connect with someone, so you're not starting out completely alone. Maybe you won't make as much money in the beginning, but if you have the luck and the chance to work with someone older who has the experience and they're willing to share that with you, I think that's really the best way of getting into the industry.
I'd just like to add that the majority of the guys who I work with come from a sales background, and mainly cars, luxury cars. So that's definitely literally. So it's definitely, if you want to start with a salary and at least you get a vision of people coming in, because if you work in real estate, it's mainly yourself that has to go and find people. Car sales, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but car sales is mainly walking.
They find you.
And
yes,
you know, buyers, you want a Ferrari, you're going to go and contact Ferrari. They're not going to contact you. So you get to see a bit of that world of how brokers, car brokers, for example, will deal with the buyers. At the same time, you're getting a basic. So yeah, I'd go from there into sales. That's probably what I should have done.
Lovely. Well, Benjamin and Christian, thank you very much for all your inputs and all the information. Now we just want to know if anyone got some question for them. We're lucky to have them, so don't be shy. So I have Jessica who asked if we can have their contacts. So
Sure.
Sure. Absolutely.
yeah, we will send you.
Maybe Viola can share them. Yeah.
Yeah, we will share your contact, guys, if it's okay for you. And so like this, they can get in touch with you if they have any requests. Is there any other question from anyone?
Yeah, we do have questions. Do you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Stick it up.
So one of my questions is, you guys as real estate brokers, do you guys cooperate with construction companies and kind of big corporations that help build these kind of condos and apartments? And how do you kind of utilize this kind of connection to gain a sale and be in front of the game?
Do you ever do that?
Well, in Dubai, it's a bit of a different. You have really three types of sales. You have commercial sales, so whatever offices are. You have residential, and within residential, you have your primary sale and secondary sale. So I do secondary, which is resale of apartments, which most probably you do in New York. But then you also have primary sale, which is off-plan, and that's where the developer comes in, the constructors. But what they'll do is the developers will build or create the project, get all the contractors, generally have their own, and all the architects and everything, and then they'll sell the project before it's actually started. And that's where they call us to sell their properties. So they'll call us and say, look, we've got 52-story tower, condos at the top, penthouses, whatever you prefer, all amenities and facilities, and we'll commission you 5% to sell those units, 5% per unit. For example, it goes from 3 to 7, depending on the developer. So that's what we do as well. That's big in Dubai because you can make a lot of money from an investment perspective, but you need to be a cash buyer because you can't mortgage property like that. You need to, you have a payment plan over a certain number of years. And then once that hand is over, you can either resell it or rent it, but you've bought it off plan. So you've paid for it over a 5-year period, for example, without not getting a single return or actually living in it because it's not finished. So that's the only case where contractors would work with agencies. Or if I sell, for example, a villa tomorrow on the Palm, and the villa has not been changed since it was built in 2003, then maybe the buyer will come over and say, do you know any good contractors to refurbish the whole house? And that's where I'll say, yes, sure, I have this person or that person, and then get them in contact. I'll probably get commissioned on that, but that's the only way I see it working with contractors or developers.
Perfect. Thank you
So
very much.
in New York, we definitely have both cases of the residential. So secondary sales, meaning an owner selling to a purchaser. But we have also a lot of new construction sales. And what will happen is the developer or the constructor of one of these towers, they will look at the backgrounds of many different brokers, and they will select 2 or 3 or 4 brokers to represent the project, and they will be the selling on behalf of the developer or the constructor. And we do quite a bit of that. So both of the women that I'm working with have buildings right now, and so they're handling sales not only in the secondary market but also in the primary market, from constructors to first-time owners.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other live questions?
I have a question.
Hi.
Go ahead,
Hello.
Elise.
Hello. I'm interested in Dubai real estate, actually.
Oh.
If we are interested in this field, how should we precisely look for Dubai jobs, and how do we actually find jobs in Dubai in real estate? Do you have any tips or hints? How should we look for some jobs in real estate there?
Yeah, definitely. There's, I mean, it's commission based. So if you're minimum intelligent and if you're good, that basically you can send an inquiry to every single brokerage, and then they'll look at your CV. If it interests them, then they'll do a couple of interviews. I had 4, and then you either join or you don't. But there are, I think there's 2,000 agencies out here, more than 2,000. So trust me, there are jobs available. I'd say there's a good 10 of us, 10 big brokerage firms that own more or less 80% of the market share. I'd recommend definitely inquiring with them. They're probably the best, and they're more European than the majority. And saying that, basically, the majority of the buyers like to work with a European spec of brokers here. But get in contact. We can definitely try and get you an inquiry with, or a video call with one of our recruiters. We've got a huge recruitment team. It's not only real luxury though, so there's a part where it's normal secondary, there's rentals, sales, off-plan, as I just explained, and yeah, you got the luxury end, which is Palm Jumeirah, all of that, and Marina, and then downtown, and then you've got the residential, more singular areas, but you sell more if you sell, which is JVC, I mean, areas basically. I won't go in detail because it's very long, but just get in touch and we can discuss that.
I get it. Okay, thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who has a question?
Yeah, we have a question, and then there are some questions in the chat also, but we have a live question, I think, right? Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'm currently studying communications and PR in Spain. I was wondering if you had any advice on how I can best use this time to my advantage if I want to get into luxury real estate and maybe like Palm Beach or something.
Well, for sure. I mean, for Palm Beach, which is crazy booming right now, like in the US, Palm Beach is actually the #1 migration of wealth in the country. But, you know, I would try to find a contact there, maybe reach out for an internship in some capacity, if you're able to go there. But if you're not there, I think it'd be very difficult to sort of get into that market until you have the opportunity to actually be there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have some question in the chat, so I'm going to read them to you. So how do you deal with work-life balance? Do you think work-life balance is possible in the real estate industry? So,
I mean, it is. It's a job, like you'll be fine, but just have one of these 24/7 and your partner will say it's fine and you're good. You're just always on your phone, which can get a bit annoying, but work-life balance is completely fine. And the majority of the time, if you close a deal, the buyers generally take you out for a drink or dinner, so that's cool.
For sure. Yeah, just making sure you always have your phone with you, and then you learn, you know, you learn what's important to do, what's not important to do, and you learn also, you know, what's a waste of time and what's not. But that's only going to come with time. You know, you learn that as you go. So you make the most of your time with every client.
Yeah, I think it is important to really structure your day. Even though you're always going to get things that are going to come and go unexpected. But if you don't structure your day very clearly in terms of, I'm going to do admin, I'm going to call out onto a property that a buyer is looking for, I'm going to send options to this buyer, all of that, it's going to get out of hand, and basically you're working, but you're wasting your whole day, because if you're not working, you're not making money. And so structuring your day, it is very important, but work-life balance is completely fine.
thank you. We also have another interesting question, is someone who's planning on joining the UAE, and do you think that working commission-based is viable on the long term? And if not, do you think what would be the solution for this lack of viability?
Oh, yeah. I mean, on the long term, I don't think you need to think about always being a broker for the rest of your life. Think of opening your own agency. And I mean, I'm thinking, hopefully, if I stay here as well, to open my own agency in the next 5 years. But I have colleagues who have been here for 6 to 10 years who are literally, I mean, have made millions of euros, have sold so many properties. I've got one of my colleagues who's a partner now in the firm. He sold 17 units since the start of the year, 17 properties. And that's between villas, apartments, townhouses. So, I mean, you've got to think 17 times whatever commission is a lot of money. So it's viable, definitely. It's a risk, but if you don't take risks, you're not going to get anywhere. So, yeah.
It's definitely more viable long term, because the goal is that you have, as you go, like throughout your career, you have more clients the longer you do the job. So the viability gets easier the longer you've been doing it.
Definitely. People contact you, or they're referred by your buyers or sellers. Oh, you know, I'm a friend of X person, you sold their property last year, I'm looking to sell mine. Or
right.
I'm a friend of this buyer, they bought with you, do you have any options we're looking to buy? It gets much, much easier over years, yeah.
So the short term is what's difficult, not the long term.
Definitely. The graph on the short term is hard.
Thank you. And we do have the last question. It's for Ben, most of it. As someone who's also American, I'm interested in real estate. Would you recommend working in New York, or are there other great markets in the USA?
I mean, the USA is very big, as you know, so you could work wherever is an opportunity for you. I would say wherever you have an opportunity to work on a team, where you have contacts already, is where you should work. But as far as the hottest markets in the US, New York is always, you know, one of the hottest. It goes obviously up and down, but there's always demand for New York. And also right now, the most popular market is South Florida. This is where all the money is going. Everyone wants to buy in South Florida. And so that's like the hottest market to be in right now. So we'll see how long that lasts, but that's really, you know, number 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you very much. And another one, are there internship opportunities or somewhere to find mentors or a team to gain knowledge during university and after that to start in real estate?
Yeah, there's definitely opportunities to do internships, especially if you're not looking for money, but it all depends on where you are. So, you know, if you're in Monaco studying, then your opportunities are going to be limited to working in Monaco. You cannot be like a remote working real estate agent. You need to only be working in where you are physically.
Yeah, and Dubai, they don't do internships because it's just a broker firm that they don't take on interns. They just take on brokers. And also, if you're in Monaco, US and the UAE, you got to realize that companies have to take you on and do a visa. And I don't know about your healthcare, but here, when you get a visa, the company has to also pay for your healthcare, etc., etc. So it is a cost. They're not willing to do that for internships, but you can just definitely get a job here. I don't think it's too hard.
Lovely. Thank you very, very much for your time. I know that somehow it was pretty early for Ben. So
that's okay.
But thank you very much. We'll share with the chat your contact details so they can add you on LinkedIn if it's all right for you. If they have any other question coming up. And thank you very much again.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Have a lovely day.
Thank you very much.
You too.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.